you can search for the UX Intimate sessions. If you have, share with your friends and other colleagues. And what else? Search for us on Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever social network you use, because we'll be posting all of the recap, the video, the photos, and also the blog posts with the highlights of tonight, all right? So we'll get started with the panel right away. But first, I want you to, for those of you that don't know her yet, introduce you to Eliza Cohen from General Assembly that will give you a short introduction to the programs that she runs here at General Assembly. And thanks, Eliza, for giving us this space and all the help from the team at General Assembly. They are great, so big applause for them. Thank you.
Quick show of hands, who has been to GA, has taken a class at GA, is currently in the class at GA? Cool. Welcome back. And for those of you who maybe have never been to General Assembly or haven't heard of General Assembly, welcome to our campus. We are an educational institution that teaches topics in different formats of classes across different topics within the tech sphere. So everything from software development, data science, UX design, digital marketing, visual design, the list goes on. I've been at GA for a little over 3.5 years, and I currently manage our outcomes program. So supporting all the individuals going through our full-time immersive courses, which is similar to a boot camp. One of the things that we're prioritizing really going into the second half of the quarter, second half of the year, is focusing more on partnership opportunities and ways to engage our community through workshops, guest lectures, alumni panels, industry expert hiring panels, portfolio reviews, etc. So one of the things that I do is work directly with companies, organizations, individuals on hiring talent from our program. So how can you access candidates who are graduating from our program who have a host of skills relevant within the design industry? How can you come and share your knowledge about hiring junior engineers or facilitating technical interviews with data scientists and things such as that, and then also getting you more involved in our program. So if you're working with a small nonprofit and have a product that you're looking to launch but might not have the bandwidth to do it, there are opportunities to work directly in our cohort with the students going through our program on specific projects in 2 to 3 week design sprints. So lots of opportunities to engage with us. I have cards if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about partnership opportunities, hearing more about specific programs, and getting involved with our students and UX designers. So that's my spiel. Fernando, thank you so much. I would love to also just sort of highlight all of the work that Making Sense and Fernando have been doing with us. It's been such a pleasure to work with you over the past almost 2 years. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the panelists.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so now I'll turn it to the panel, but before I want to explain how we're going to manage this, we're going to have about an hour of some questions that we have for this amazing panel that we have today. They will introduce themselves in just a minute. Then by the end, we'll have a Q&A of about 15, 20 minutes. If it's like so many questions we have that we need more time, maybe we'll close and then you can approach the panelists. They already know this, so they're aware of it, so that you can talk directly with them, all right? So feel free to write your questions down or post them on the Facebook Live that we have, but then we'll have the Q&A at the end, all right? So without further ado, I'll introduce first the moderator of tonight's panel, Santiago Triviani. He's the head of UX at Making Sense. And I'll turn the microphone to him so that he can introduce the rest of the panel, and then they'll take it from here. Okay, I'll be back in about an hour.
All right, thank you, Fer. Hello, everyone. My name is Santiago. I'm from Argentina. I'm head of UX at Making Sense. And it's a pleasure for me, on behalf of Making Sense, to moderate this session today. We are very happy because this is our third edition of these intimate UX sessions that we are doing with Making Sense. And tonight, the idea is to share some of the experiences and main challenges that some of the experts in the fields are having, and propose some of the good practices as well to approach them. So be prepared to be challenged and inspired, of course. So first of all, let me introduce you to Micah.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Alpern. I am currently design director at PayPal. I've been in the Bay Area since 2002. I'm originally from upstate New York, Cooperstown, Baseball Hall of Fame for folks who love baseball. Since coming out to the Bay Area, I've worked at a number of different consumer, a little bit of enterprise product companies. I spent 4 years at eBay, then spent about 4 years at Yahoo. I'm very big into mission-driven companies. eBay was all about creating global economic democracy. Yahoo, at least the part that I was in, was about organizing the world's knowledge and connecting people to their passions. Then I went on to LinkedIn, where I spent about 5.5 years helping to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. After that, I spent some time at Medallia, which is a customer experience firm that helps connect customers and companies with feedback so that they can make better, more customer-driven decisions. And I spent some time at Facebook, where I help lead the profile team and think about identity. And most recently, again, I'm at PayPal, helping people with person-to-person payments, in-person payments, and causes and nonprofit.
All right, thank you. Next, let me introduce you to Siona.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here today, right? And thanks for this opportunity from Making Sense. My name is Xiaodan. I'm from China. I moved to Bay Area 2 years ago, and right now I'm working as a product design director at Facebook. I just joined the company 2-3 months ago, so fairly new. So I think at the introduction, I just feel I'm really lucky that I've lived in 3 continents. I grew up in China, Beijing, and I studied and worked in London, and moved to Singapore and then Bay Area. So experienced a lot of different culture and met lots of different people. I think that in unexpected ways, right, really helped me as a UX practitioner because, this exposure. My career-wise, right, actually I have 2 things in common with Mika, right? Both work at Yahoo and Facebook. So I have 3 dimensions in my career. I've worked at multinational companies like Microsoft early part of my career, and leading multiple product life cycles from regions like Europe, Middle East, and Asia Pacific. And then another fold of my career is at unicorn startups. I've worked at 2 ride-hailing business. One is called Grab in Southeast Asia, and one is called Didi. It's a Chinese company, but I was helping them to expand their business in Latin America and Asia Pacific. So very different experience. And in between, I actually did consulting for 3 years in a company I still to today highly regarded. It's called ThoughtWorks. It's a company that really pioneered in agile development. And our chief scientist, Martin Fowler, was one of the founders of Agile Manifesto. And so at there, I really learned the techniques, right, and the methodologies of how to collaborate cross-functionally and enable fast product development with very high quality bar. So I think that many startups have been struggling, right? It's the speed versus quality. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but not least, Yasmin.
Everyone, I'm Yasmin Habian. I'm a design advocate at Google, and I lead the Material Design Advocacy team, which is full of design advocates and developer advocates. Prior to joining Google, I was in Arizona, and I worked for a lot of agencies out there, as well as some nonprofit work. So fully aware of a lot of the work, working with a lot of different startups and kind of helping them get their products onto the market. But now at Google, as a design advocate, I help designers and developers learn how to build with material design and make their apps more accessible. I'm also the host of Center, which is a show on Google Design that goes around the world and just really kind of wants to meet with UX designers, product managers, developers, researchers, everyone that's kind of involved with building products and helping share their stories and insightful tips that everyone can learn, and it's all available on Google Design YouTube channel.
All right, thank you very much, you all. You have an amazing panel tonight, so let's start. The first question will be to all of you. How was your first contact with the UX field? When did you realize that this was your career?
Yes? Okay. Cool. So for me, right after, I got my undergraduate degree in psychology and math, and no one seemed to understand how those had anything to do with each other. But I ended up working in a cognitive neuroscience lab at Princeton. I used to joke I wasn't smart enough to get into Princeton, but they would hire me to work there. So while I was there, we were doing fMRI brain imaging research. And what I found was I was far more interested in, it was a big, long process to analyze the data, and I was more interested in the design of the software to analyze the data than I was in what the results were. And I was like, there's got to be people who understand how to make this stuff. And this was actually New Year's in the year 2000. I saw a friend of a friend who was reading Don Norman's The Design of Everyday Things. And I was like, what's that? And he ended up working at Microsoft. And through him, I got introduced into the field. And it was actually when I went to my first Kai meeting, again, a long time ago, I was like, I found my people, which was very fun.
Thank you. So my first contact with UX and why I think that's my career, actually it's really to do with my first job. Because I studied fine art and graphic design in universities. And for my master's degree, I went to London Central St. Martin's College. And my topic was actually on internet advertising. Not so much UX, right? More on monetization. And but my first job was really lucky to land at the Yahoo European headquarters in London, and that's where I get into the field and just really get along with it, right? And great team and fantastic colleagues. It's not what I do, and but I'm a slow learner, so it wasn't until 8 years later I realized that this is the area I actually want to engage, because I had an early midlife crisis, and I don't know who had a midlife crisis. You can raise your hands. Just so we can find something to talk. And I was really seeking. Life was great, and job was great. So I'm seeking the meaning of life, right? Naturally. It took me a long time, like 5 years, if not more. Reading books, talking to people, getting life coach, all that. And then I found that really I get in touch with myself, right? And realized that, what? Actually, there's only one thing I actually know how to do, is UX design. I don't actually know anything else. And then I realized that, this little thing I know could help people in smaller or bigger ways, right? And I found that is the meaning of life. Just how can you make this world a little better than before it had you? So to me, that is meaningful enough, and that's why I stayed.
So when I was studying, I think I started off, I balanced a lot of majors where at one point I wanted to study history, and another point, geology. I was kind of all over the place, and I had to take a computer course, and so I took a Flash course, and so it's like, that seems like fun, that's what websites are built with, right? So I took a Flash course, and I liked it, I was really good at it, and my instructor was like, have you considered a career in this? And I go, you can have a career in tech, like I have no idea what this world is. And so he's like, yeah, you definitely can, like, go, you did some research, found out, yes, people do this as a living, and kind of like building sites and apps and all of that, and actually got my degree in internet and web development. So that's actually how I started building a lot of websites, doing a lot of freelance contract work. And through that, a lot of people don't come to you and say, here, develop my mocks. You actually have to design it as well. People are like, we want a website. We don't really care how you build it or design it. Just say, we need a website. And so through that, kind of really self-taught a lot with the design. And then that evolved to focusing more on UX design and mobile apps and kind of the evolution of all of that. And so, I think that, there's definitely, there was a time where I had to kind of focus on whether I wanted to pursue more of the UX design field or if I wanted to stick with development. And so there was a point in time where I kind of had to make that path. I don't think everyone has to make that decision, but for me, I was like, which one do I want to kind of really focus on? And design was just the one that allowed me to explore more different opportunities and it didn't limit me to just developing front end, which is so awesome, and I love it. But I just wanted to, open that field of what different apps you could build and all of that.
Thank you. The next is about your careers. You have successful careers. Which are the most important aspects that you consider help you be where you are today?
When we talked about this, I was thinking about sort of the attributes that I think help me. Like, I think some of the key ones are being humble, recognizing that no matter what, both no one is an expert and you can always help. So being humble, being helpful, so like going to see whatever the problem is, going and providing help. That's actually the first step in creating credibility, is just whatever it has to be done, go be helpful. Be curious. Curious about the problem and about how it works, about what people are doing, about how the process works, and be passionate. Like, really caring is incredibly valuable and far more valuable than a skill. You can learn a skill. It's very hard to learn passion. So like if you can find your passion, that will carry you very far.
Absolutely true. First, I don't think I have a successful career. That's actually what I'm doing. Thanks for flattering. So I think one of the most important skills, right? Actually, just treat everything very seriously. Like I write such long notes, right? I find actually two things really help me, right? One is communication, and one is collaboration. I think communication is just so important for us as designers because you just have so many stakeholders every single day, right? You have to persuade them, and not only you have to persuade them to buy into your design concepts, you have to also advocate for your team, right? And also sometimes advocate for the business strategies at a different level. And all of this, right, requires a very good communication skills. At the same time, and I feel there's a whole set of skill sets relating to communication. For example, you need to be able to build instant connections with people you work with users you're doing testing with, right? So people trust you. And I do think you need to have a good presentation skills. You need to be able to keep everybody updated, right? There's the latest information of your work, and you need to manage up, manage down, manage across. So all of this, right, plays a big role in your, if you want to use the word success, right? I think it's one important skill. And then I think on the communication part, it's almost impossible to do anything alone, right, nowadays in the software product development life cycle. So you really need to work well with other people, and you need to be able to include everyone, and you need to make compromises and trade-offs. And I think the key thing I learned is that if you don't give up, you don't gain.
That's not fair, you gave all the answers. Being curious and just kind of going and exploring and communication. I definitely like, communication really resonates with me, and that it was something instrumental in my career. learning how to communicate your design decisions, right, is so big because everyone has thoughts and you need to be, with humility, approach, being able to kind of share your design and, sharing like, hey, here's the direction we did. But being able to articulate it because there are so many people that you have to convince, or also maybe you need convincing too that, hey, like, have you explored this other thing? So being open with that. So just get comfortable communicating and talking about your ideas, even about anything. I started podcasting, which was really helpful for me because it allowed me to like just start talking about any subject at any point in time. And you kind of have to do that with design a lot of times. You get a lot of questions, and you kind of have to be able to think on your feet and be able to kind of, put a lot of the points together and kind of share that narrative. So just, it's hard, but keep practicing communicating. I think it'll make you a better designer.
One quick comment, I love you talked about the sequence of communication that you have to learn in your career, sort of up, down, sideways. Like oftentimes when you're starting your career, you start by managing up to your boss, and then you realize if you not just your boss, you have to do your partners, and then you learn that you have to also, you'll have people on your team, whether they're reporting to you or not. And so learning to do all of those directions, when I first started having to learn it, it made me think of the David Blaine magic trick where he sort of like floats up off the ground, like you have to learn to go in all directions. And it's a tricky business.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, can I ask a follow-up question? Yeah. So I'm new to managing a team, and what you just talked about, being able to like talk to your reports, you both are directors. So overseeing and kind of talking to reports, I'm selfishly asking if you have any tips on how to navigate that, because traditionally when you are learning to communicate, it's mostly like, hey, you're going to convince your stakeholders, and you're going to be like, here's the plan and strategy. Yeah, your reports have thoughts and ideas.
Oh yeah, I can start stepping first on this. I think actually that goes back to what Mika said before, being humble. I never see my directs as someone that's any lesser than I am, right? In fact, I feel they're actually much smarter, and I just try to make sure that they don't think I'm dumb. Very often my directors tell me, here's math, and here's what I think. And I say, oh wow, amazing. And so I think it's just that, I think you just really need to be actually super confident in yourself as a manager to be able to be humble. Because I know I've seen this word for a longer period of time, and sometimes actually not, but sometimes my director is super senior than me, this 20 years experience, right? And I would just really consider that. I'm just really lucky to be able to work with this gentleman or this lady, right? That I can learn so much from them. So I think you really need to have that mentality of that, we are just human to human. And what I'm saying, there's lots of flows, and I need you to make me making more sound decisions, right? Just really have that openness. And then when you have your conversations with your directs, I would say there's a lot that's around how do you help them to grow. Obviously, they don't have to grow at the same time, but I think you really just need to, for instance, maybe one question you would have is, how do I do one-on-ones with my directs, right? Or how do I manage the career conversations, right? So I would really just share some tactics, right? Not a strategy. So I think the tactics usually is when I have a one-on-one with my directs, I would always have kind of a agenda. And the agenda is that basically, this time is all about you, right? I'm here to listen to you and to remove any obstacles for you. And so you tell me what you want to talk about. And I may have a couple of things, right, I want to share as well. So you set the stage, right? And knowing that it's dedicated for them. And when it comes to career, I think I always give back that question to them. What do you want to be down the road 5 years, right? And you may or may not want to be staying in this company. That's absolutely fine. It's a big world, right? And we're just here in the same journey. So I want to understand, how can I help you to reach your goal? What are the things I can do, right, along this particular journey?
Yeah. One comment on that that I experienced, particularly when I was managing at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is all about careers, and so it created a great opportunity to recognize a number of things. One, as you say, we all tell stories about our career as if it was a straight line, but in fact it's jaggedy and unpredictable and has lots of dead ends. And you tell a straight line story after the fact. But the role of, as you say, the role of someone who's a service leader to try to help someone is to help them discover their strengths and to manage their weaknesses and to say, we are together for some period of time on our journey. What do you want to do? This is what the business needs. Let's figure out how to align the growth you want with what the business needs. And like finding ways to find those win-wins is what helps people.
All right, awesome. Thank you for the tips. So let's move from an individual perspective to a company vision, let's say. And Yasmin, this is for you. As a senior design advocate at Google, you have traveled around the world visiting some of the most important companies and exploring the intersection between design, product, and people. In your opinion, what do you find in common between these companies and how UX teams work to achieve the best results?
You're gonna hate the answer because it's the famous design answer, which is it depends. I mean, every company is so different. So like something that works at Google, it probably won't work for your smaller company that just has a different culture and has different organization and different challenges, right? And so it is really difficult to kind of provide that single nugget of, you know, this is the only way to run a successful product and design team. But I think some of the things that when I have met with people is, you know, everyone does have their own challenges that they have to overcome, whether that's with stakeholders and communicating all of that and figuring out how to design the best design experience for the users while still managing business expectations is also a challenge that a lot of people have to overcome. And so I think the most successful thing that I've seen is when teams work together. And so a lot of the work that we do is kind of bring a lot of the design sprint methodology, which is you know, cross organizational designers, developers, and product leaders, as well as like stakeholders and decision makers, and really coming together to kind of solve the problem or the challenge that you have. I found that to be really successful because everyone is involved, and I know it takes, we do it in like a 3-day process, and it's a lot hard. It's hard to get someone or a lot of those people in the same room for 3 days. But it's been really successful because everyone is kind of on board with the same mission instead of having, you know, an individual designer or whatever kind of just going off and designing in a room and then coming out and be like, I have this grand idea, please, you know, please implement it. It really helps to bring all these different perspectives and skills into it. So back to, I think what they're all saying is just collaboration, communication, and knowing that everyone else has different skills that they bring to the table and being, you know, accepting and welcoming that.
And what do you think, and this is probably for all of you, what do you think that are the main differences between, you know, talking about this, how UX team works, the main difference between small companies or startups versus big companies or enterprises?
So the question is, what's the difference for the design teams, right? Working in a big company and smaller company, right? But I unfortunately had the experience on the both spectrum, right? So I have a little bit experience on that. I think for a design team in larger organizations, I think you tend to have more solid process, best practices, and you tend to have well-oiled cross-functional teams, like you have the research support, you have the analytics support, product marketing support, engineering, product, etc., right? I think that's the advantage of a larger company. I think for startup or smaller companies, the design team tends to have limited resources, right? Usually you're one of the only few designers, and that requires you to be almost like a unicorn, right? Like for example, actually, when I was at Yahoo Europe, we first started the design team really lean, and that's actually similar to a startup experience as well, right? So you just have to do research yourself. You have to do some front-end coding, and you have to do interaction, visual design, etc. Sometimes you have to call product managers, right? So I think that really helps you grow quite fast. But I would say that the danger, right? Something you be mindful when you work at a smaller company is that sometimes you're really just doing things the wrong way, and you didn't know. Right? I can give you a classic example of an engineer and not so much of design. We're talking about agile development, and he said, "Oh, I know agile. I need to learn about it." I said, "Oh, wow, it's great to learn it." He said, "Oh, and this so company." I said, "Oh, but the company did everything wrong in this agile." So you probably learned all these years the wrong way, right? And not that there's only one way, but I do think that's an area we need to be, just realize that together.
Mike, I know that you have experience advising startups and you work in a big company too, so would you like to add something?
Sure. I mean, within larger tech companies, I think one of the things that is not always obvious from the outside is if you're there for a while, you actually have many different jobs. There's an opportunity to move within the company, and it's actually really valuable if you do it. At LinkedIn, it was part of our culture to make sure that there was a sense of rotation, because it's a big product, and the best way to create a sense of cohesion, user experience, if you can't be, you want it to feel as if it was drawn with one hand. And the best way to do that is to make sure you're moving people around, that they're understanding, whether the job seeker or the hiring manager, and what are the tools and needs and the goals of each one, plus just organizationally. Fundamentally, every company is just a collection of people, and it's about the relationships that exist. And if you have a relationship with people in different parts of the company, you can really get things done much faster. So anyway, mobility is one of the things that can be different. That said, the consumer versus enterprise angle plays into this too, because some product areas are exceedingly complicated, and it can take a long time to build domain expertise. But even then, it's good to move teams around a bit, or else the thinking gets ossified a bit. From a startup world, I just love the clarity, the speed with which you can create alignment, and how you can bring people together. And it comes back to things we've been talking about around communication. Like, if you can build a sense of understanding and empathy and tell a story, that's valuable everywhere. But there's an African saying: if you want to move fast, go with a small group. If you want to go far, go together. And both are true. So like, you can go fast with a small group, and that's awesome. And you can go far with a large group. There's more work, and there's a lot of redundancy. You have to be okay with that. But that's how you go really far.
Great, and actually I want to add a little bit point, right? And point is that in smaller companies, you do have a lot of autonomies, right? And you have much larger scope, right? You can see the product end to end. With the bigger companies, you're part of the product, right? And you may not have that much influence, right? So that's just something you need to understand what exposure or what are the things you're going to learn at this current life stage, right? Before you can choose a direction.
All right, thank you. Yasmin, how is it to be a designer?
That's great.
Thank you.
What do you want to know? I don't know. Anything?
What is it?
Yeah, what
What
is
is
it? Yeah, that's a great
What is
question. Yeah. Oh, okay, all right. So as a design advocate, we really do want to help advocate for designers both within the company and outside of the company. And so a lot of it is bringing back a lot of the feedback that we hear from designers to make material design better for them. So we do meet with a lot of partners and like, hey, we have some issues here that, we need some help or guidance with some of the things or some of the tools that we're using. We also have open source components. And so we help bring that back to the product and be like, hey, users really need this and we should prioritize this. So being an advocate internally for all the designers community outside, externally. So it's the day-to-day changes so drastically. One day I'm just mostly in front of computer answering emails, as well as we have a global team, so we have a lot of video chats. But some days I'm out in the field, with filming with a partner or someone, telling that story, which takes on a whole new role of like taking on as a host and kind of storyteller in that respect. But it varies day to day, but it's an amazing job that it's every day is so different. So if you're really looking for like a 9 to 5, I know exactly what I'm going to go in there and do. It's not going to be the perfect role for you because everything changes and you kind of have to be really agile as you're kind of running and being like, oh no, something's going on in that area. Well, I need to connect with that team and this other team and align. So a lot of that connection and building, which can be pretty fast-paced. But if you are someone that, maybe, I want to say gets bored easily, but likes to explore a lot of different things, it's kind of a perfect job.
All right, and do you think that it is a role that every company should have?
I think every company should have it if they are set up to help advocates succeed. So I don't think every company is set up in a place where advocates can be successful. We're, as advocates, while yes, we're out here talking a lot about the platforms, like the products that we're using, we're not a marketing or sales team. And so a lot of people will try to, they see a lot of the advocates' roles of like speaking and all of that, and they're like, oh yeah, like we definitely want people that fill those shoes, and like we'll go and talk to the product, but really what they want is a sales team and a marketing team. And you have to be very, cautious that you're not that, because as advocates, like we are designers and developers that are, coming with that experience to help make the products internally better. So you are kind of functioning as a designer there. You're not a sales and marketing just trying to like, hey, you need to go adopt this because this is the only way, or we're with this quota. So I think that they have to set up, the company has to be set up to really respect designers and developers, if that's their target audience, and to really help with their needs.
All right. The next question is about product design, and this is for you, Sayala. As a product designer, you generate new ideas, identify growth opportunities, and create new business solutions. How do you combine UX design with product management techniques toward those goals?
That's a great question. And I think the boundaries, that's a great question, right? And the question is, how do we combine UX skills and product skills together, right? And solve new ideas and innovations and stuff, right? I think the boundaries between product management and design are getting really, really blurred, right? In today's world, and many times I see designers doing product work, right, or putting on product managers' hats, and vice versa. So I would say that's a industry trend, and this is what's happening. And to me, it really doesn't matter what is your function. To me, the foundations of getting new ideas and identifying new opportunities really lays on user research and data and insights. I think that is the foundation, right, of innovation. So I personally, and also my teams, very much relies on user research and the data to extract new ideas and find new opportunities. And so I think the best way I've learned so far, right, is very similar to what Yasin shared before. So when you want to combine product design skill sets to reach business user goals, right? You really this is through this collaboration workshop. I think many of us probably are practicing through the day-to-day level, and they just probably some nuance in differences. So this is something personally I want to share something called the Inception workshop. I don't know how different it is to what you guys are already doing. This is something I picked up quite naturally at ThoughtWorks, and I'm still very grateful, right, for this company for teaching me that. It really is a framework, and the framework really focuses on cross-functional collaborations, and it requires really solid research and data preparation. As mentioned, that's the foundation. You can't run a workshop without knowing the information. And so through various time box exercises, and we guide participants to create common goals and shared missions, and identify targeted users. And those are so important, right? Because without this common goal, then we always run into the problem later on during the product development stage that, we're in disagreement, and there's no guiding principles. So I do feel that this kind of initial time to work together and to really ideate together and to reach to a common conclusion is so critical, and then we really need to go slow to go fast in this sense, right? And what else does this workshop do is probably similar to what you guys know, is we want to map out user journeys, pain points, and help create design solution. Here, I think when we talk about design sprints, I don't know how often you guys are doing design sprints with cross-functional teams, right? But my experience is that it's always important to invite your cross-partners, but not just product and engineer. You need to invite your sales, your marketing, sometimes your HR, sometimes your finance, right? It really depends on the nature of the project. And I have an example. I was doing consulting work for a hotel, and we're redefining their booking experience. And so I, as a consultant, right, we insisted that you have to invite every single department that's remotely connected to this booking experience. And so with this request, they got their loyalty program manager in the pool. So we're designing together and everything, and then she brought really good point. She said, look at the creation flows you guys, we have created, right? Nobody talked about loyalty programs. And she said, we don't even have an entry point for people to sign up. And she said that instead, me is sitting in front of the hotel lobby, going one by one to ask the users, right, and the customers, right, to sign up. And it was a great insight because there are so many people booking stuff on the website, and we're really missing out. So because she was there, we were able to improve these features, right, and that's just such an unexpected gain. So I think this cross-functional collaboration is really important. What else? Oh yeah, and we actually, another thing, I don't know how often you guys do it, is we always, whenever we can, and we include user testing in those collaboration workshops, and which runs between, when we include research, it's about 3 days to 5 days. So you can have your concepts during the first 2 days, and then on the third, fourth days, users come in, right, validate. So I just find this process is really helpful in bridging that.
Yeah, I love that story of bringing in someone that is not strictly to like the product team. We ran a design sprint with the company, and they brought in their customer representative, customer service, because we were like, hey, who can speak more to your users and your customers? And we're like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm like, find me someone, because we want to be able to have their voice in that. And so they brought their customer representative, and they were actually pretty instrumental with the whole design sprint because they were the ones that were getting all of the complaints from users, so they knew the actual pain points, right, where the designers and product leads were like, oh, we weren't even aware of that. And the fun story about that is that she did such an excellent job there, and I was like, wow, this person would actually be a fantastic UX designer. And the company saw that too, and they were looking at exploring how to get them more into the product and become a UX. So yeah, so there's talent everywhere, and there's so many people with insights, so just be open with bringing everyone in and having their voice through.
All right. So one of the topics that I want to touch tonight is about data. We know that data is very important for us to make decisions, as you mentioned before. So probably in this audience, there are probably many people here who are owners of early stages or startups. So metrics are important for the business since they help us validate our actions and how we are doing, right? So how do you involve data in your process?
So it's an interesting question because it depends both what stage you're at and how you think about data, like what data means. I think the key piece is, I like to think of it more as insight. Like you get insights, there's numerical insights, there's qualitative insights, and they're all about getting to a clear understanding of like what is the user problem and what is the impact on the business. And you should look at things from multiple different lenses. One of the first ways that I experienced this in my career was at eBay. This is a long time, it was almost 20 years ago, when the design team was advocating for redesigning the registration experience. This sounds so silly because it's all very known now, but like at the time, I think the business team was like, why would we do that? Registrations are going up every quarter. It's no problem. Well, we looked at it and we saw both in terms of the experience and in terms of customer support, we're like, there are problems here. So we took a time and followed sort of a process of like, first we need to get a map of what does the world look like. And that was about doing a visual audit of the design of the registration experience. And then it was, what do we know from all of the sources that we have? So, sitting with the analytics team, not just how many registrants are coming, but A, what's the value of each one of these people? How long do they stay? What's the bounce rate? So all the things that turn into the R metrics for startups. As well as usability testing to understand where the problems were, as well as customer support data to see where we had volume coming from different places. as well as different kinds of analytical data to look at like the performance of different parts of the experience. So, and from this, we made a big poster within eBay at the time. We called them BAPs, big ass prints. They were these huge 10-foot things. So you could print them out and put up Post-its, and everyone would talk about the experience, what was working, what wasn't, and talking about it at lots of different levels, whether it was the really sort of the two parts, the problem discovery piece of it and then the solution discovery piece. And at the time, I would always, like, I'd be carrying this 10-foot poster around, and there was no Figma at the time. So I had to roll the darn thing up and carry it around from meeting to meeting and like print out a new one every 10 days because it was all massive. So that to me, that's what taught me about the importance of seeing the big picture and realizing everyone sees the elephant in a different way. And so you need to find as many different data sources as you can and bring them together into a common space. Now, how you can use that process and use data in different ways at different times. There's strategic data, like what's the problem space of what is the problem the business is going after, and how much of the market do we have, and what's growing, and where are our margins, and like you can make a map and an understanding of that. In the Google Sprint process, they talk about this phase as the map. And it took me a long time, like, oh, that, yes, the landscape of the thing. Then there are more operational metrics that are like all the way down to, oh my God, the server's down, or it may not be that extreme. It's like, how long does it take to process? Or maybe user metrics of like, well, okay, people are spending a lot of time here. A more recent example of this was at PayPal. There was a period of time around December of last year where I had a little bit of a break. There was a project that got canceled, and so I got the team together and we asked some very fundamental questions. Like, all right, who's using our product and why? How does the product work? How does our product grow? In terms of how does the product work, this is a 20-year-old product. They had things all over the place, tons of different countries, and no one person on the team knew how the thing worked. So like, we have the way that we build software today is it gets ground into the source code, and that's the only definition of how the thing works. One of the greatest pieces of value designers can give is figuring out how the darn thing works and documenting it in some visual way that lets people talk about the big picture. So we went through a very similar process at PayPal, which was like, okay, how does the thing work? Let's document the core flows. Let's document the variations. How does it work on iOS, on Android, on mobile web, on the website? How does it work differently across different countries? What are the different business variations? Why do they exist? Mapping all that stuff out. Then sort of understanding our users and our use cases and our customer journeys. And so like the way you do it depends on on the maturity of the product. But data is really like a flashlight. It lets you see what's going on. And so cross-functional partnership with your user researcher, with your person in customer support, with your data scientist, all of these things are really powerful. And the value that we bring is we can tell stories and we can make our stories visual. The data scientists often have amazing knowledge and can't oftentimes communicate it terribly well. And so if you can connect to them enough to understand, because they'll also speak in technical language, so you have to be able to bridge that gap. But being able to translate and then share those insights is great for you, it's great for us.
Actually, I want to add a little more. It's great insight, right? And resonate a lot with me. And I want to offer a different perspective of data. It's not so much Mika has covered, right? How you can use data to solve users' problems, right? Identify opportunities. And I want to talk about how can you use data to showcase design's values, right? I think that actually goes to a little bit into design advocacy. I remember back in 2003, I was working at Yahoo, invented for a product called Yahoo Personal, it's a dating service. And it was relatively new, right? The online dating scene, right? In Europe, it's forbidden, it's taboo, it's bad. But in China, it's not, right? It was super cool. Anyway, so I had to deal with it. So I was actually doing a lot of marketing design back then. So I was generating all these banners and get people matched and doing lots of tricks in my search boxes. Actually, there's a good thing. That's not a good example, right? About data. Sometimes you can manipulate data from the business game, right?
Lying with statistics.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't go too much on that. I'll talk about the design. So what happened was that I found out, I worked so hard in training all these banners, and nobody sees my value. Who knows, right? What I'm doing, I can't tell them that blue is better than purple, nobody believes me, and people just don't see the world the way I see, right? And so I was struggling. And at the same time, I loved data because every Monday, as a team, we'll sit together to look at the creative's performance, etc., right? And get excited or identify problems. And then I talked to my husband, right? Who was my boyfriend back then, and he's here today. And so actually, my career has a lot of value to him. Anyway, so I was talking to him because he's in finance. I said, look, right, these people, these business people, they don't love my language. So he actually took a look at what I do and took an understanding of, how we evaluate, right, our customer lifetime value and the click-through rate, the conversion rate, right, for registrations, etc. And he helped me to come up with this formula to calculate exactly how much is Pink Banner generating for the company. So I was able to do a data report for my general manager, right, to show her that, what are the specific contributions I've made to the business, right, really concretely. And she was overwhelmed. She's never seen this before. And her word for word comment was that I've never seen a designer show me their design work's business impact. Yeah, and so that was just the beginning, right, of my data journey. So I want to share. So don't be shy to use data on your benefits.
Yeah. One last comment on that. Totally agree. And if I was to substitute the word data, I'd say impact. In terms of Facebook and the culture, it's all about the number one thing that they care about is impact. Use whatever process you want. Impact. If you can demonstrate impact, that's what matters. The other reason I think it's really important is, as designers, there's a left and right brain, and we need both of them. They're incredibly powerful. But the value of the left brain is to direct the area that the right brain can have the greatest impact. There's nothing sadder than designing some part of the experience oh my God, it's so much better, but it doesn't matter because no one gets there, right? Understanding the flow or the use of the product, or whether it's a piece of a funnel, or whether it's attracting people, or whether it's bringing new people in, understanding the dynamics of your product is valuable, because then you know where to focus your energy to help make those things happen.
All right, so I'm talking about data or impact, as you mentioned. You mentioned something important, that is, how does it work in other countries, right? And we know that many companies are created with an international perspective. So in those scenarios, UX is key, right? So can you please provide examples on how strategic decisions are made considering global users?
Okay, I can share to start, right? Yeah, I actually have some experience global design, right? Work for probably everywhere in the world in terms of our products. I think it's really, actually my experience, I've done both from promoting US products, right? US companies to globally to Asia Pacific, and our companies in the East to the West, right? Both sides of the spectrum have some exposures. I do think the most important thing when it comes to design strategies for global markets is starts from branding, actually, because it's so important when you want to build a global brand. You need to have a consistent message of who you are and what you do. But on the flip side, right, is that you need to understand, and we really humbly understand that every culture is so different, and people actually, even though they use the same service, but they are expecting very different things. I only use Didi, a ride-hailing company in China, right, as an example. Didi is hugely successful in China, right? Kicked Uber out of the markets and has a $56 billion valuation and doing fantastic. And understandably, right, my colleagues in China are very confident, sometimes overconfident, right? And they believe that, hey, I've succeeded in such a complex market over 300-400 cities. I can do this anywhere. I can repeat my success, right, globally. And but that's not always the case. And for example, when we went to Brazil, we realized that in Brazil, people care very different things than what people care in China. In China, maybe it's the price, right? In Japan, maybe it's the efficiency. But in Brazil, it's safety. It is very, very unsafe And my colleagues were telling me that not a single day I walk on the street, I'm not worried if someone's going to grab my phone, it's going to grab my necklace, going to grab my bag, right? That's their concern. And so for us, our brand proposition in Brazil, right, and in South America, as in general, is safety, right? You simply can't just tell people that we're cheap, we give you a discount, right? But because if something happens, right, nobody's going to take your brand, and you really can only have that first impression once. And I think another thing is that from UX perspective, we need to realize that globally, anywhere you go, competition is really fierce, like ride-hailing or social networking or whatever other business, right? There are multiple competitions going on. You really need to make sure your product is top of the notch, it's world class, so that you can compete. And don't mistake that in a developing country, people will settle for less with quality. They will not, right? So we need to have that realizations and that simple respect. And I do find what helped me is to really go to those markets to see, because I remember when I went to Sao Paulo and go to the coffee shop and go to the malls and down the street, actually everything is done beautifully. I feel like a really good place. You go to this CBD area, people dress really nicely, so you know they have aesthetic standards. You can't offer something that is of poor quality. I think they will accept it, right? I think another thing is you need to have a local management team to execute. And where I found international companies, especially American companies in China or Japan, where they fail, is that they send their American execs, right, to the ground, don't even speak the language, don't know what's going on, right? Didn't have local friends or families, right, to test and tell them what's wrong with the product. And I think that's where companies could go wrong from a management perspective.
Yeah, I think definitely having a lot of local user research and getting your users, knowing what are their challenges is like super important when you are trying to get into new markets or just even act globally. I think a lot about just the research that Google has done with like next billion users. And there was a company that I was talking to in India, and usually when you sign up for an item or like a login account, usually use your email. Like email is pretty standard here. Generally, everyone has one. In India, everyone has a cell phone number or a mobile number. It's not actually an email. So requesting an email was actually like a really big hindrance for their signups because not a lot of people have it. But then the mobile number was something that a lot of people had and used. And so it's those little learnings that you're like, oh, I had an assumption, but it's just done differently in different areas. And so being able to have local people there that can speak to that and being able to conduct user research to actually really get to know the community.
We chatted about this a little before. There's some things I think that are fundamental and are true globally. Like people are people. People think they have the same cognitive constraints and limitations, but culture is fundamentally different. Norms are different. Services are different. The technology is different in some cases. And so being aware of those things and how to design for them. We're talking about there are a number of markets where certainly no one has an iPhone. Like the penetration of the iPhone 10 is not high compared to much more simple devices. Their data plans are very, very different, where you need to design assuming that you're going to have no imagery and that someone's going to selectively say, yes, I want to see that image, I will pay you to download those things. The other very pragmatic piece is just the localization and piece of the fact that French and German is generally twice as long as English, and so making sure your design is not going to break and thinking about how it's going to scale, thinking about left to right and right to left kinds of experiences and how to do those things. So it sort of goes up and down the stack of work to be done.
I want to add a little bit on this, right, in terms of how do you set up an international design team and how would that play into understanding the global culture. I want to give an example, right, of Grab versus Uber. Grab is a company that's based in Singapore, and our design team actually, together with our product engineers, we research every single week, twice a week actually, 2 days a week, and another single week we're not in our local markets, we have 9 countries, right? I don't know exactly how Uber does, but I do know that they have centralized kind of a design development team right now in the US. I just want to see that what is the advantage, right, of being close to your local customer. For example, as bike drivers, because we will have, if you take an Uber car before or Lyft, right, you see drivers as an app, right? They depend on it. The job comes from there, the engagement comes from there, etc. And but then if you're sitting here in the US, you actually don't or can't imagine that in Southeast Asia, the most popular transportation is motorcycles, because the traffic is so bad, right? The motorcycles are only for like a move, and also because the cost is so much cheaper than a four-wheel car. But this app is not designed for two wheels; it's designed for four wheels because number one, you have a dashboard to actually put it there, and on a motorbike there's no dashboard. And number two, you can actually charge your app all the time, and this app consumes so much battery. And with our motorbike drivers, they have to carry a power bank, and sometimes they run out. That means your day is finished. It doesn't matter how long you drive, you go home, you don't make any money, right? It's really tough. So with that understanding and empathy, right, we really dig deeper into our motorbike drivers' life, and we realize that their pain point has so many different folds. Battery being one, but the key thing is that if you're a motorbike driver, there's nowhere for you to put your phone. And you can think, oh, maybe you can put on the dashboard for the motorbike. You can't, because people's gonna grab it, people's gonna steal it. Smartphone is expensive in Southeast Asia, and the weather is pretty sometimes stormy, sometimes super sunny, blurry, right? With your reflections, you really actually can't see anything, right? So they have to put the phone in their pockets. And imagine how inconvenient that is, right? In this street, there's cars and people and everything comes all directions, right? You actually have to look where you're going, and they don't know where they're going. And the problem is, you put the phone inside, you go somewhere, knowing the traffic's bad, right? There's going to be delays, and the customer's impatient. They cancel your ride. The driver doesn't know, because they don't hear anything, right? And it doesn't matter if you have an alert or not, right? You go on Indonesia, Jakarta, you know you hear nothing, right? And it's just traffic and noise. And so what happens is that our drivers, they get to the destination, waiting for the passengers, and looking for them, realize, oh, it's canceled, right? So not only they waste their fuel, waste their time, another thing is when people cancel your job, our system automatically sends you new jobs. They didn't know. And what happened is that it affects your acceptance rate. And your acceptance rate is connected with your bonus. And the bonus is the biggest chunk, right, of their income. So the driver is in a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
So what do you do, right, in this case? So what do we do? And we actually had our industry designers, right, in our team, and started to develop a smart helmet for the drivers. And then we did look for existing technologies, right? There is $90-something, right? Our drivers simply can't afford it. They make $1 per ride. And how do we get something that is affordable for them? We actually did all sorts of prototypes, right? Moving around, the light flashing, and sound or whatever, right? And then we figured out a way to use our existing Grab helmet and to connect with headphone, and then do a software integration, right, with your phone. And not only we did that, you also need to consider some very practical things. There are too many cables dangling around, right? And it's not safe. They're driving, and so we redesigned their jacket. So to have some parts you can just stick on to put the cables that have multiple pockets for the power banks, right, and for your phones, etc. So I just want to say that it is really about being on the market, on the street, right, and sometimes being the driver yourself, right. You can really experience the other side of the story of the users.
All right, I think that we can talk about it for hours. It's very interesting. So thank you all for your mindful opinions and for sharing your experience with us. It was awesome, and thank you. To wrap up, and then we will do some questions from you. Would you like to provide some advice about for the ones who are looking to get into the field? I mean, the ones that are studying and trying to get into the field, the UX field, and
Network like you're doing here. So connect a lot with the community. Starting off, I didn't have a lot of senior designers to kind of learn from, so being involved a lot with the community and events and networking and just hearing from other designers that were doing similar things was really beneficial for my career. So try to connect and find other people within the community. There's probably things that you can offer them as well. I think, when you're first starting out, try different things. Like you might find that you like more of the visual design, or you want to focus more on the interaction, and just kind of explore and give yourself that opportunity to kind of, explore different things that may be interesting to you. Because in this field, there's a lot of different jobs, and there might be an opportunity for you to kind of find that perfect position. So just go out there, explore some things, and connect with the people around you. Oh, and can I plug my show then? And if you go to Google Design and search for Centered, and we have a lot of tips from a lot of the partners that we meet with. So there's a lot of things centered, yes, like human-centered design. So check it out. I think you'll learn a lot from it, and hopefully have fun.
Thank you. I want to share little words from me. I think number one is that you're a designer, which needs to be at the top of your game. Really, really work on your craft. You have to be the best at your craft to go anywhere, right? And that's the first thing for me as a designer. I think a couple of other things. Just be reliable. Do what you said you would do. I think this goes a long way. And hardworking. Always do more than you should. I think that really helped me, right? Like, I'm just never lazy. I'm Chinese. Chinese are not lazy. and just work and do things more, right? And I think this hard work and do more than you should is really linked to my next point, is intellectual rigor, meaning that you should never rest your mind. You don't have to do anything physically, right? But never rest your mind. Always reflect, analyze, right? And always think. I think that is just so important for a designer, because what do you have? Just your brain, right? And last thing I want to do is adverts for Facebook advertising group. We are hiring. So you can look me up on LinkedIn, right? And send your CV or portfolios, right? Please do. Thank you.
Super cool. Yeah, I totally agree. Passion and engagement and real commitment is what will get you recognized at the beginning. When I heard the question, I was thinking about someone who might not yet be a UX designer, might be doing something else, and so may or may not be able to do it in their day job. And if that's the case, my advice would be, start making things, whether or not it's a job or not. Care deeply about those things and make them really well. Then find other passionate people who also care about those things and connect. The state of the world now, you don't have to ask permission. You can go, whether it's to take an existing successful product, understand why it's working, tear it down, try to recreate it, try to think how you evolve it. Ira Glass has a really great piece he has written for External. Ira Glass is at NPR and helped create This American Life, amazing podcast. I helped define the genre. He talks about creativity and taste, and that part of developing taste, or part of building a skill, is the first step is developing taste, and you will do that first. You'll get a sense of this is good before you can make good, and it's extremely frustrating. You'll be making something like, this is not good yet, and it's hard to do it. It's okay. The first and most important thing is to work on taste. That will give you the clarity so that when you keep working hard, you're getting better and better and making something really excellent. So yeah, practice and share. We live in a very connected world. The online design community is incredible, and clearly the design community here is incredible as well. So reach out, find designers that you are inspired by or products you love, and go find people who made them and ask them questions. I am totally open if folks want to reach out on LinkedIn or on Twitter to have conversations or to get feedback. But show me work, and then we'll talk. Cool.
Awesome, thank you. And where do you think that UX is going? Where do you see that UX is going, for instance, in 10 years in your company?
I think they're going home. Gosh, 10 years is so far away. That's
5.
I think that we've even just like in a couple of years have really seen the evolution of kind of what interaction with the computer is like, and how, I think touchscreens and interacting with it physically probably maybe never going away. I think there might still be an aspect of that, but just in a few years, we've seen a lot of voice and how that's really kind of come into the space, right, and being able to interact with that and creating experiences with that, similar to what you shared with the motorbike, where it's like you needed to provide a different way for people to interact with technology. So I think that, I don't know, I think tech space is just gonna, I don't think we know where it's going. It's just like so open, but I think the things that's core to UX design is really just problem solving, right, and being curious and learning from your users and really applying human-centered design principles that you can actually create successful products. So at the core, I think that that's still going to be ultimately what makes you successful in the field. But in terms of tech, like I don't think we're even there yet to know what that's going to be.
Add a little bit, right? Not that I know anything about it. I think to me, the UX future is really on the useful UI. Right? Not that the from that UI is going to disappear, but I think by the more we learn about our users, right? The more the machines learn about us, right? From all different dimensions of our lives, I would say that voice-based technologies and some other censoring technologies, or whether that's implementing in self-driving cars or not, I feel that this type of technologies altogether is going to achieve one goal: it's automation. And if I were to imagine a world from here 10 years down the road, right, to exactly what I'm doing today, perhaps that I don't need to sit in front of an ads manager to create my ad, because the system knows so well that my particular business, right, every Mother's Day, there's just going to be this new product of mine sells really well, right, just do it automatically. Or that the business knows me so well that every morning, 8 o'clock, I go to work, the car is outside, right? And you know so well that every Friday my kids don't have some boba tea. Okay, that's delivered. So to me, I think that is the future. It's just that seamless integration is life.
Makes some sense. So that I don't have a ton to add here other than I think the fundamentals of like a double diamond process of discovery and solutioning is still going to be there. The process of how you learn insights, the process of how you iterate and polish your design in whatever medium that is. These things I think are fundamental and will remain true. When I think about UX, I think about sort of three elements. There's an element of fashion, that you want to be cool, that is about expressiveness and emotion and the culture of the moment. There's an element that's about, I think, the fundamentals of interaction. There are things that are true today, were true 100 years ago, and will be true 100 years now about how people think and about what is the journey at a basic level to get something done. And then there's technology, and technology is always changing. As technology changes, it affects the other two things, right? Like the reason Apple made the super thin fonts, and they went, what was it, 7, was because the screens finally were good enough to make that really be able to be distinct and unique and something that could differentiate them in the market. So like that interplay of technology and fashion and what people care about is going to continue to play in really interesting ways, and to continue to hopefully simplify and eventually disappear, so that we can then move on to the next problem. So it's a fun field to be in.
Thank you for being here and for openly sharing with us your stories and the information and your experience. So thank you very much.
All right, great. So we'll get started with the Q&A. I'll grab the mic from Santiago and I'll go around. So put your hand up. But first, I asked the first question from, because I'm the organizer. So this is a quick question, and it's about failure. And I want to know if you guys can share an experience of failure and how you overcame that, and what learners you Sure, because I want to give them time to ask their questions, but if you can give us just a couple thoughts on that.
All right, I'll tell a quick story. This was shortly after I entered the UX field. As I said, I got a connection with a friend who was at Microsoft. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get to go learn how to do UX at Microsoft. I went and I interviewed there. I interviewed with a lot of different teams. The way the interview process works there is that as you finish, they walk you back to the central office. Actually, if they love you, they keep you there throughout the day, but if they don't love you, they walk you back to the central office. So I'm walking, there's a guy, I just finished, I had a 40-minute spiel, and one of the things you don't know how to do well when you're just beginning is how to tell a story proportional to the amount of time, which I may or may not be doing well here. So I tried to do a 40-minute spiel in 6 minutes. So he's walking me out, and one of his colleagues is over there. I'm sitting like behind him. He's like, I'm like, okay, well, thanks very much. So I bombed out of that experience. But what came from it was a very nice note from my friend who introduced me and said, listen, we think you're very smart and you're clearly passionate about this space, but you don't have any experience. And you don't know the models for how to think about this yet. Go learn more about it. And that's when I went and went to graduate school at Carnegie Mellon and learned and did and built. And so that failure set me on my path.
Yeah, I think so. It was November. Was it a little bit, almost 3 years ago? I had gotten laid off from my job. The company just wasn't doing really well, and so no one is hiring during the holidays time. So that was like a pretty difficult time for me and like our family and trying to get all of that. And I was able to pick up some freelance work because I knew some people in the industry that were incredibly helpful. But you know, throughout the whole process, I was applying and kept on getting kind of rejection letter after rejection letter. And at that point, I had been connected with Kai, who is now my manager, and I had chatted with her a couple of like months ago, and I go, hey, she's like, you'd be really awesome for this role, but I don't have an opening. Like, reach out to me at the beginning of the year. And so I think it was in January after like I got a rejection letter, and I was like, I'm just gonna email this person and see what's up. And I emailed her, and she's like, I actually do have a position open. Like, let's get you to the interview process. And now I'm here in this role that I love so much. So I think like, yeah, that's my failure of like, I got laid off. I guess it wasn't my doing, but through all of that, I'm just getting like rejection letter, just kind of keep on pursuing it, and don't let other people tell you what your worth is. Like, be confident and know your own worth. Just because other people can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
Great story, thank you. I want to share mine. I think my biggest challenge, right, and that's where I fail most of the time, is trying to influence people. And when I say trying to influence people, I found actually it's really easy for me to influence people who are genuinely want to do something good for this world. Because I found people of this quality, they will look at the fact, look at the reason, and then use their common sense, right, to make a judgment. I usually never have a problem, right, connect and reach an agreement or influence people on this. Where I found a challenge, right, is where people have a lot of personal agenda, and they're focusing on building their own empire versus the greater good for the product or for the company, right? And that's where the politics plays into the place. And I think that it's you just can't avoid that, right? Anywhere you go, just go have a different childhood, they become different people. And so I think the best advice, right, I've got for this situation is this. Is when you go into a meeting, and in this meeting you need to influence people, or you need to reach some result, conclusions, decisions. Don't go in there and think of what you want to talk about. Don't think about what you want to say. Think about what is the result you want to achieve after this meeting is finished. And I think that's really, really helped me, because if you think about it, right, before you go to the meeting, and have a clear objective of the things you want to achieve, then you will start to analyze the room. You start to analyze the participants, right? Who likes who? Who is friend of whom? Who always disagree regardless, they just hate each other, right? And whose opinion actually matters? Who is the decision maker, right? Who is the influencer in the dynamics? And then who you already have support of, and whose support you actually need before this meeting. So don't organize this meeting before you talk to this person and get his buy-in. And once you have this, right, you really you understand the dynamics, you will form a strategy, and you will restructure your conversation flow. And then you have more chance, right, of influencing the room to the direction that you want. I think this is something I learned, right, really in the hard way.
That's very good.
Thank you. So let's get started with some questions. So if you have identified one person in the panel that you want to answer the question, feel free to say it. Well, that was
Hi, my name is Diana. I'm a UX researcher. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the audience here who's interested in research. Several of you guys mentioned research. Tell me about the best UX researcher you've worked with and what made it great to work with them. How did they help you in design?
I can start. I think I'm just really lucky again. I met the best UX researcher at the very beginning of my career. I was at Yahoo, and the guy actually went down to become head of research at Google after Yahoo. And so what is good about him, right, is that when your question, what are the characteristics and qualities of this role model for me? He was extremely humble, and he just was super experienced. And coming from our California office, right, to London, and really to help us to run some researches. And he never come across as someone, hey, I'm here to teach you. Not a single time, right? Come here and sit with us, say, hey, you know, what are the things we want to do, and what could be the possible methodologies, and why we're doing it, right? So I went with him to all the internet cafes, back then there's internet cafes, right? And to interview people, and that's what. Therefore, I learned how to construct a survey. How do you build connections with people? How do you make sure people trust you within the first 5 seconds, therefore they're willing to share things with you, right? And then he showed me how to do ethnographic studies, right? Which is, carry our bag, carry our cameras, go to people's houses, and then, sit in their living room, talk to them, and then I learned how to do the diary studies.
So he was teaching you.
He wasn't teaching me, he was just doing the job and taking me along. And I was just like, wow, this is how you do research. And it was just amazing experience, right? So to me, I think one thing that is the best research I've seen is that he is totally on top of his game. He is very familiar with all the methodologies, he's been there, he's done that, and he was sharing with you in a non-threatening way. Right? He just showed you how to do it, and where I found in many places, apprenticeship is missing. Right? Like people say, oh, you may have a bottom-up culture, you may have top-down culture. Nobody ever actually teach you how to do things. It's like so many product managers, they've never written a user story because no one showed them how to write a user story. Right? And I think that as this example is just this humbleness, this know what you're doing, just lead by example is the key.
Let's continue.
Thank you. So I'm Brian, I wrote the strategies, and I would like to ask what are the characteristics that you really value on product managers?
I'll start. So, as I think was mentioned today, I think like the role of a designer and a product manager are becoming closer and closer. But I think about it 2 different ways. Like one is ideally, I think about overlapping Venn diagram. Like I want a product manager who has a strong point of view about user experience, and I want a user experience person to have a strong point of view about product. I think part of the core difference is, in general, design's job is to open, to ask what-if questions, to sort of expand, and product's job is to close, to ensure delivery, reliability, execution, and value to market. And you want someone who's sufficiently senior to play both roles and to know when to open and when to close. That comes from both those pieces together. As a designer, the things I value are in a great product manager are leadership, accountability, detail-oriented, follow through. I want a lot of these things in designers as well, but particularly in a product manager, you have to be able to go micro detail and up to strategy and sort of bounce levels. Again, an important skill for a designer too. How do you consider the overall system as well as the fundamental needs of the customer all the way down to the implementation details with the engineering team. So being able to talk, and actually one more piece of that is anyone who's doing that knows a lot at any given time. It's not about what you know, it's about, to your point, what are you trying to communicate, what's the outcome you want. So don't sit and just tell me, talk about all, if it doesn't matter to me, I don't need to know. Let's make sure that we are aligning on the core parts where the collaboration is most important, which is really the customer problem and sort of how we're going to phase out the solution.
I just want to add a little bit, right? I think it is very rare to come across a very good product manager. I'm sorry about that. Right? And I think there's a reason behind it because I may be completely wrong, right? But I think for designers or researchers, right, or engineers, you actually can go to universities to study it. Which university teach you about product management? I don't know, right? I don't know who's been there, right? I'm maybe there is, but I've never come across someone studied product management. So I feel that product managers are at a disadvantage because there's not a lot of mature methodologies, right, to coach you and to lead the way, and there's not of, like, we know how to use Photoshop, for example, but who teaches you how to write a proper product, PRD, right, product requirement document? And I think that is where the gaps is the reason behind it, right? It's not systematic teaching.
Yeah, the one comment which I agree with you, and I think some of this applies to all of the roles. We're still early enough. We've only been making software for less than 100 years, right? Like in the scope of humanity, we're still learning this. Bridges we've been making a long time, and it's well established. So apprenticeship is still really valuable. Go find people who have done this and have done it well, and go work with them.
My question is in the same line. I am a UX content strategist, which for the ones that don't know is exactly what she said. She said she reads the room and tailor what she's going to say on the meeting according. I do that in a greater scale for the product or the website. I read the way that the user and tailor. The major issue we have with we don't get involved in the design early enough. I would like to know for you that are up there, if you guys see the importance and if you guys involve us early enough to actually be able to contribute to the full rank.
Yeah, I mean, I think content is absolutely critical and crucial to getting not just the messaging across, but ensuring that you do have the correct, call to actions or proper ways to, as you're designing it. I think, everyone always says, like, don't use lorem ipsum because you actually are designing for the context of like the content that you're going to put on there. And the content may not be finalized, but understanding what your goals are and how to do that with words is equally as important as understanding how to do that visually.
I think content is extremely important, and the content and design is left leg and right leg, right? It's not which one is more important, which one you want to catch, right? and I do think by having a inception workshop or design sprints, but that design sprint, whatever that sprint is, you have to include content strategies as part of it. And I think at Facebook, content strategies plays more of a role, not beyond content, information architecture. And I do recall actually at Yahoo back in 2000, 2001, when we designed, there's actually always a product designer and a content strategist. There's always a pair, design whatever. I think it's just super important.
And Facebook, one thing I see is difficult for me to get around it is Facebook, a content strategist, is also a content writer. And I see this difference. Content writer advocates for the company, for the stakeholder. Content strategist advocates for the user. We need that synergy. We need to work and get to a meeting point. If you put the two roles in one person, we are negotiating here. It doesn't make sense. But I see that Facebook has a lot of content strategists / content writers.
It's just different scope, right? How you structure the team.
Is it on? Okay. Hi. So I'm new to UX, just getting started. And my question is,
Yes,
the second
Sheldon?
yeah, yes. So you were talking about your story of Southeast Asia and the motorcycle and app driving app. So how do you draw the line between UX research, design, and then get into product and industrial design. Because for me, I'm kind of just focusing on the skills I need to learn for UX design, but then I do come across that part of like product design. So where would you give advice to somebody who's just starting out to focus on my part and not kind of get overwhelmed with all these other playing parts of the business?
Gotcha. I think the question is, what is the area you should focus, right, as a new starter in this field? So there are a couple of different layers to this question. I think number one, you can't be a successful designer if you actually don't do research, right? You don't look at the data. It's just part of the job. And but I think on the different layer is that what is your interest? Because I do find for many people who are changing their career midway, right? It's actually really hard, very, very honest, right? To change your career to become a designer simply because it requires a hardcore skill to operate the softwares. But what's even more difficult, right, is the eye, is the taste, is exactly what Mika was saying, right? Like, to me, some of the best designers I've come across, right, they usually tend to come from visual design background because they had years of training. And I would say if I were to give advice, are you really, really passionate about design? And start with going to the galleries. Because as someone who did painting for 10 years, right, I'm now like really grateful that I did it, right, for so many years because it just helps me do that. It doesn't matter if it's a tool or if it's a consumer-facing app or whatever, right? It just first and foremost needs to look beautiful. And if there's one pixel off, I can tell you it's one pixel off because I've been trained, right, to make sure that everything is not off for so many years. And another thing is when you go to the galleries, when you look at the paintings, right, if you're not, someone who's already been drawn to art previously, really try to look at the pictures, right, and look at every stroke of how the artist, put the stroke there. What is the technique, right, and where do you see his passion? And also analyze the color. For example, you see the shadow. In the shadow, there's purple, there's orange, there's red, there's gray, there's brown. Like, why does he put these colors together, right? And where's the line? Remember this very famous painting in Swiss gallery, right? And there's this boy, and he had shadow on his face and continued his body, and then you see when the shadows on his face, artists treated really gently, really soft, right? So you still have that purple of the shadow, but the lines blur and then become super contrast, right, and sharp. On the body, right, you still have the purple and the red, but it becomes so much more strong. And that together form this beautiful composition of this picture. And I do think it is by being able to appreciate art or anything that's beautiful, right, you can build your capacities being a good designer. But then on the flip side, right, if you are drawn into user behaviors, right, this research is actually an easier area to break into. Not to say it's easy to do the job, but what I want to say is that people don't change that much, right? And so if you want to, actually your life experience as a human being contributes to you as becoming a researcher because you have more empathy, more understanding of people, right? You have more understanding of life, and that makes it easier for you to break into that area.
All right, unfortunately, we're running out of time. We have one more question here, and then we'll wrap up, but feel free to, get in touch with the speakers here, grab a beer, have someone working. So we'll go with the last question for the panel here.
Thank you. I recently started working at Facebook as a contract designer. I was just put into a team that is extremely low-level technical engineering, never worked with design, and I'm supposed to. So the team thinks everyone has a different opinion. It's like the engineer thinks his product is great, it actually doesn't need design anymore, and the TPM thinks that functionality is more important than making things look pretty. And some other person thought that I'm here to do CSS. And so my strategy so far, until I listened to you, was that go home and do a really work in lightning speed and do a heuristic analysis of the app, which is already there. and like make a Steve Jobs level presentation and like put everyone together in a room. But then, and then you said something like, when the designer just goes off and does something great and then comes back and says, build this. I was like, oh shit, did I just decide to do that? So I brought up like a very specific situation, but I think that this might be common when you're actually working, not like studying design.
Yeah, do you have like a manager or someone that's kind of directing your work and stuff? You're kind of leading that yourself?
Yeah, I'm the only designer there. I have a design team who has no idea what I'm supposed to do. I have a design team. So.
Yeah, it sounds like the hiring manager should work on helping set that expectation, because that's it's not an easy situation that you're in, so I feel your pain. Like, it's a pretty hard thing to walk in and be like, go fix it, like, go do it. You're like, I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, I think what I would recommend is, like, identifying, talking to the team, not so much what your role is supposed to be, but like, what is it that, like, kind of going back to the goals, like, what do we want to actually achieve at the end of this contract or end of this month or whatever it may be, like, what are the changes that we actually want to make, or what do we want to improve on? And I guess some of the engineers are telling you it's great already, so we don't want to improve on it, but like, connect with people that, they hired you for a reason, so it would be good to understand from the person that hired you what was that reason, because money, budget is hard to come by, and they just weren't like, hey, you're a designer. But so I try to connect with that, but like, maybe connect if there's any stakeholders or leads that are PMs that you can connect with and work together to kind of come up with, like, okay, what are our challenges, what are our problems, and then work together to solve it. And try to connect with also the engineers. Try to find someone that can be a friend that can help you. Like, I do this all the time where I'm like, okay, I know that we want to do this X, Y, and Z, and I know it's a lot, but like, this is my like amazing vision, or not my amazing vision, but like, this is where I would love us to go. Like, what steps can we take to get there? Instead of just being like, here's this whole new brand new thing. Like, what are some small wins and improvements? And if you do know CSS, maybe team up and help kind of with engineers to build those relationships that, I don't know, maybe that's bad advice, because it is doing that, but you also, what I don't want to set you up is that you now become the CSS, the developer, yeah. But it is good to kind of connect and, what can you do together, and what changes can you drive forward?
Yeah, I was going to agree and just say add value.
Yeah, add
for
value,
sure.
yeah.
Because you're a contractor in particular, and like add value, build rapport, find relationships, and as you do that, you'll have currency to say, well, what if, and to start to build those pieces up. So build the relationships in your team. Also, if you're on Facebook's campus, that's an amazing community. Find people, get to know people, network and learn. Find a mentor, or like people that you can learn from. That's a great opportunity.
Well, and a little bit, right? Because I see your struggle, and I totally agree with what was being shared. I say, number one, be nice, right? And that goes a long way. I say, number two, there's some tactics you can use, right? Is to really lean into research. Because many times when I see engineers don't work with design or didn't have exposure to design, because it's not because they how do I put it, right? It's just because they have not seen the value of design, right? But you can't tell them, hey, here's my design, look, it's so good, the value is here. They don't see it, right? Because they feel the way they're doing it already solving the problems, where they actually didn't know what was the problem. That's usually the case. So the past experience, or our experience, is that all the user research sessions, right, we always bring the engineers. They always sit there and observe and to look at the pain it costs the users. And they will be they're actually really nice people, engineers, I love them, and they're really gentle souls. But whenever they see the pain, they impose on the users, they feel ashamed and they want to change it, right? And then you can kick in, hey, here's the problems we identified, do you think it would be better this way? But the key is involve them in the design process, like using the design collaboration workshops, right? And the way we do it, again, I share something tactic, right? Because it's all in the details. way we do the design collaborations, right, it's not design, here, product has a concept, design has a design explorations, and then come back for the review, yes and no, and wonderful, complete, right? And so the way I would recommend is, okay, we want to do some design first to understand pain point this and that. When you do the actual design, get engineers, product, everybody, right, cross-functional team in the same room, and to say, now we're all designers. Put on your designer hat, and then I usually give people a A4 paper, fold into 4 folds, right? Because it's small, it's intentional. And I give people a marker pen because it's big, so it actually can't do much, right? And so we would say, okay, we have 6 minutes, and everybody in the 6 minutes come up with 4 ideas, design ideas, right, of this particular feature or whatever. And so this forces people, right, to get 80% out of this 20% of time. And then what we do is that we do a round table sharing. And so you can see highlights, lowlights of everybody's ideas, and you'll be surprised how smart engineers are, or finance people are, or customer care are, right? Really training you at these activities. And then in this way, we would have somebody on the table to say, okay, can you help us to consolidate all the highlights of these ideas, right? So we have a consolidated design. And you can see through this exercise, everybody had the decision-making power. Everybody contributed, right, creatively, because everybody actually wanted to do it. But their job limits them because the engineer is supposed to do coding. And then they'll push back, this is not good because not what I wanted to do, right? But this process eliminated that because you bring everybody's on the same page. And I do think another benefit is that then this process becomes not personal. So I don't like your ideas, not I don't like your ideas. And as a team, we think those are better, right? And then you understand that in the end of the day, what is the final design? Still you have to say. Who else can put this model together? It's you, right? So you make that consolidated, informed decisions, right? Knowing everybody's perspective. So I do think those are the tactics, right? You could use, right, to bring to life. Yeah.
Just underline that last part. This is part of the superpower of design. The person who owns the artifact has a lot of power. And guess what? The person who ultimately owns the artifact is the person with hands on keyboard.
Yes, I was going to
It's the
say, it was like,
developers.
you want to make friends with engineers. And
That's right, because they're
else.
actually going to make it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I'll give the word to Cesar D'Onofrio, CEO of Making Sense, to thank the panel and you guys here, and we'll give the present, but please stay and network and share your thoughts and questions with the panel.
Okay, well, thank you everyone. Thank you, a great panel. We have some gift for you. Thank you, Justin, Siodan, Mike, and Santiago. Thank you. So we will be staying here for a few minutes, so feel free to stay with us and ask any question that you would like. One more thing that I would like to share based on Mike's comments. I have my aha moment in the early 2000s when he told about that free time that you have with your team back last year in December when you put together a design or user experience point of view to the software piece. I had kind of the same story. I am an engineer, so in the early 2000s user experience it was not even there were not UX designers at that time. So, and I was an engineer working on a project with a bunch of software developers, and I saw the same thing. How a user experience, myself, putting together screenshots. So there was not InVision on that time. So, and we put something together that is a different point of view as a software product, as a software piece. So, congratulations if you're a UX designer or UX researcher or any in the area of UX. You selected a great career, so go for it. It's a different point of view, and that is our passion in Making Sense. So, thank you for being here. We look forward. We have some wine for our speakers. We are looking forward to seeing you in our next meetup. We don't have an exact date, but check our social, our landing page or Facebook page. It will be in middle of October, I think, October-ish. Well, thank you for coming. Yeah.
Everybody was standing.
Oh, thank you.